Live. Oh, you got caught.
No.
I'm here with my mini me, Garrett.
Hi.
Garrett's going to introduce himself and we're going to do some on the couch bridging the generations. I don't know what it means, but it sounded really good.
Okay.
Go ahead, tell them about yourself.
That's very broad. Hi, I'm Garrett. I'm her son. Pretty clearly. I'm about to start my junior year in college. At Brown University. Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
That's enough for now. So usually I open up with a little something, and we always talk books and writing. So Garrett's the reader in the family. We're the two readers. So we're definitely going to talk books. But first, I want to ask, has anybody seen, I have this new obsession, and I know it's old for some people, but it's new for me. I don't know if you've seen this on TikTok. They have this thing where they go, my mom or dad or my grandmother, my grandfather, whoever, used to break hearts. And then they do like a TikTok reel of the person current, and it's an older person always.
Like older pictures of them?
And then older pictures of them looking real, swaggy and delicious.
I can imagine. I've never had TikTok, and I don't really use Instagram Reels that much, but I can imagine the type of video.
It's a lot of fun, and they all have to play the Breaking Heart song. I'm not gonna sing it. I'm not gonna sing because I do not have her voice. But anyway, that's my latest obsession. I don't obsess on these kind of things. I'm like, oh, I see how people get hooked on this now. All right, we're the readers in the family, right? So what is the youngest age you recall reading or being read to?
I don't know. Reading on my own, I have no idea. But being read to, I mean, definitely as far back as I have memory. Okay. I don't really have like a definitive like when I started remembering things.
Yeah.
Period. But like, I don't know. I know y'all read to me when I was in my crib and stuff. So
yeah,
pretty far.
I'm gonna bring you a little closer so you're not off camera. There you go.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm a big reader. So you've been read to since before you came out, because I would read to you in utero. We would do that. And you loved hearing these stories, so we would read to you. We would make up stories and stuff, and it was it's a lot of fun. And then I remember when you were in preschool, you went part-time preschool, and I was told that you were an early reader, and so I needed to learn how to. And they didn't have enough time. Well, they didn't have. I'm not an educator, and they didn't have enough time to work with you on reading when they were really, helping kids potty train and stuff. It was preschool, so I. Started helping you read, and you wanted us to read to you all the time. You would be putting together blocks and playing with all these things, and I would have to sit on the couch and read to you while you were doing it. And if I stopped reading, you would look up, and I would get hoarse and stuff. I don't know if you have any memories of this, because you were young.
I mean, I'm kind of still like that. I always have headphones in listening to something.
Yeah.
Something that's sort of the same thing.
Yeah. He's one of the things is that I always get frustrated because he doesn't remember some of the things I'd like him to remember. Obviously, he shouldn't be remembering this because he was really, really little. Yeah. But I have a distinct memory of one time you getting on the floor to do something customary that we would read to you, and I had the book, and I brought the book out, and I was going to read, and you told me, no, I'd do it myself. And from then on, you just preferred to read. And I understood it. You weren't mean. You were matter of fact, as kids are, right? Kids are just honest. And the truth is, I am no thespian. And also, I'm dyslexic, so probably my reading was a little choppy. When you couldn't read, it was fine. But once you thought that you were good enough. Do you remember that?
No, but it seems like something I would do.
Yeah, but it didn't hurt my feelings because the way you did it, you didn't hurt my feelings.
I was like 5 or whatever, right? Like,
do you listen to audiobooks?
I don't listen to audiobooks. I've started listening to more podcasts recently, mainly when I do longer drives.
Okay.
I'll listen to... I've got a couple podcasts that I like. But no, I've never been an audiobook person. I listen to... or I'll watch a lot of like long form sort of video essay style content on YouTube, which I guess is similar-ish. But like if I'm reading a published book, I'm just gonna read it.
Okay.
So
what podcast are you listening to now?
I've been going through the backlog of this podcast called 5 to 4. That's about it's legal nerd stuff. I guess that's another introduction. I'm a pre-law student. But it's just, they go through like important Supreme Court cases and discuss them and break down the opinions and such, and they're cool and funny, the hosts.
Ooh, tuition money well spent. That's what I hear when you're talking. What books are you reading? Are you reading any books, I should ask?
Currently, I'm academic-y reading. I'm reading a book called How to Kill a City. It's one of the ones you got me for Christmas. Mm-hmm. It's about gentrification in a couple different cities across the country and like using them as case studies to explain the broader phenomenon. I think it focuses on New Orleans, New York, Detroit, and San Francisco. I think those are the 4. Mm-hmm. I've only gotten through Detroit and New Orleans. But yeah, that's what I'm currently reading.
So you said that I gave you for Christmas. That's one thing. I always give books for Christmas. I love to give books for Christmas. So I forgot to mention, like I always do, that if you're watching, and sometimes we have more people than others, and I didn't do the big we're going live announcement before we got on because we were running to get on. But feel free. We want to connect with you and we want to dialogue with you. So put up your questions or comments or whatever, and we will definitely look at them and address them. Well, I'm glad you never stopped reading. Do you have anything you recommend that we read?
That we read?
Yeah. We being me and the legions of people watching us.
Anything. I'm trying to think of something interesting. I mostly read nonfiction nowadays. I get my sort of fiction stuff through other mediums. Mm-hmm. And I read so much for school that's the most of my reading, because while I'm in class, I'll have mid-semester I'll have hundreds of pages of reading to do a week.
Yeah.
Across all my classes, because I don't do any of the science garbage.
We don't think science is garbage.
Oh no, I believe in it. It's just too hard for me, is what I mean. And then, yeah, when I'm out of school, the last thing I want to do sometimes is like, well, not the last thing, but like it's just not as into, let's go read for a few hours a day.
Yeah. I think that's the story of a college kid, right?
Yeah, I read a lot.
Yeah.
All the time.
So I'm taking a parenting moment here because I said we trust science, and you said, yeah, it's just hard for me. You can do hard things. Okay, that was my parenting moment. Do you listen to music when you read?
Yes.
Yeah.
I listen to music while I do most things that don't require me to listen to something else or like talk to people.
Okay.
Yeah. I know a lot of people who say they can't listen to music with lyrics while they read or something. I'm not entirely like that. I can listen to pretty much whatever type of music while I read, but a lot of times I'll prefer, because again, most of the reading I do has to do with like doing my homework or something. Yeah. And when I do my homework, I tend to listen to more instrumental, sort of like relaxing music. I like to listen to a lot of this, he's dead now, but a Japanese hip hop producer named Nujabes.
Okay. You introduced me to him.
I probably did.
Yeah.
But I really like to do my homework to his music a lot. Really like spikes my numbers for, how you can go in on your whatever streaming service you use and you can see like who you listen to the most each month. Mm-hmm. Every month there's like a finals period. The numbers look crazy. But yeah.
So we're talking about music, which is one of your loves. You're a music nerd, but you're other kind of nerds too. So in the book that I just released, Star Spangled Swagger, see what I did there? I plugged the book. But it's about blurs, black nerds, and you are a blur. Your parents are nerds. Your brother is a blur.
Yeah, he definitely is.
He definitely is. Yeah, we're going to have him on. You guys can go at it.
Good luck.
But I want to talk about that. Like, how do you feel about being a blur? Was it, you're definitely a music nerd. What other kind of nerd are you?
Sort of like classically in the traditional sense, I guess. I don't know. I mean, you know, obviously, I've always been into like since a kid, like fantasy, sci-fi. Really more fantasy than sci-fi has always been my sort of thing. Stories and stuff like that. Like huge into Lord of the Rings and like all sorts of stuff like that. I wrote my college application essay about Dungeons and Dragons, which evidently worked pretty well. I still wonder if I was the only essay that they received about Dungeons and Dragons. I was like 60,000 or whatever they read.
So I still use that as an example when parents are asking me about the college admissions process, because in my previous work, I did some work in that area, and you know, I've had kids who've been admitted to college. And I use that as an example because you don't have, it's a non-traditional way. And when I talk to admissions officers, they just want to get a feel for the student.
Yeah,
and
people think they have to write about like their time on the debate team or whatever, which I also was on the debate team. Or like they have to write about like something that feels academically impressive. That's not what that's not what they want. They have 30,000 people doing that.
They have other places for you to put that information, but also you can infuse it, right?
Yeah.
You can infuse it. So he mentioned Dungeons and Dragons. He's a Dungeons and Dragons master. Or that's what you call him, a dungeon master?
Sure, yeah.
What is it?
Well, it's the way the game works. There's one person who's the dungeon master, which, yes, that's what I wrote my essay about doing dungeon mastering, yes.
Yeah, it was a really cool essay, and we're going to get off of it, but I just will tell you this, that he started with the world. So he started talking about this fantasy world, and it was just a pure fiction delight, and then he got into that it was his love and yada, 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 yada. Okay, I have a list of questions in case we couldn't have a conversation, which was kind of silly of me because we can always have a conversation, but, you know, in case we froze. So. Oh, I like that. He said, I hope so.
I mean, you spawned me, so...
You're going to be 21 in 40 days.
Is that to the day?
Yeah. How do you feel about that? Because I feel sometimes, right?
I think that's pretty cool. I'm gonna... I like that I'm older than almost all of my friends. It's pretty cool.
I should explain that while you're thinking about how you feel. We moved from the Northeast to the Southeast. And when we did that, he did an extra year of school, not because of academic reasons, but because of the cutoff date for classes. And so that means that he went from being one of the youngest in his year to being one of the oldest in his year.
Not the oldest though. Like my friend just turned 21.
Yeah.
One of my roommates turns 21 like a month before me. But yeah.
Stay on camera.
I'm on camera. This is just blocking part of the camera.
Oh, see, he has to tell me these things.
I thought this was your job or something, right? But yeah.
So maybe you guys can help. And even if you're watching this and recording, you just put it in the comment section. I'm trying to figure out a way to celebrate his 21st birthday. He's going to be away. He goes to college in another state. But coincidentally, family weekend every year is near his birthday. We won't be there on the exact date. Near.
It's a few weeks.
It's the same month of his birthday.
That's what she means. Opposite ends of the month,
But so I want to do something for him and friends, and not just the normal, we always take him out to a nice dinner when we arrive so that he has a birthday celebration.
And I said that works for me.
But it's 21, people. We need to do something else. I need some help. Help me. Because every time I say something, he's like, oh, no.
I will have already celebrated my 21st birthday.
Yeah, and that's probably a celebration that I need to hear about this much about.
I didn't say anything.
But another celebration. So you guys help. What should we do to celebrate his birthday? I said that we were going to bridge the generations. Kind of just sitting down talking does that. But what differences do you see in generations? Whether it's you and me, you and Corey, our son, the next son in the line is 11 years older than Garrett. So that's a generational gap. So what do you see in these different generations? Even the labels using millennial and stuff so readily is different than I.
Really?
Yeah. I have to actually think about, I'm like, okay, this one's an X. Like, which am I again?
Yeah, I don't know the exact cutoffs, but I know the general vibe of each. I guess you're technically Gen X, right?
Yes. So stop calling me a boomer.
I didn't call you anything.
Nothing wrong with boomers.
I didn't call you one.
Yeah, he's done that.
My dad's a boomer. He's just barely, right? He's
just
he's like the youngest boomer.
Yeah.
Corey's definitely a millennial.
And you're Z.
Yeah, I'm like solidly Gen Z.
So what do you see the differences in generations, either just like in general or in our family? Because we've been talking a lot about this. Like a lot of times I'll say something, I'm like, I think that's a generational divide and not a personal divide.
I don't know. I mean, I think technology has a lot to do with it. I think generally state of the world has a lot to do with it. Just in like terms of what different, like based on your age, what your experience of like being a person has been. Especially like when you've been of age of like being conscious of certain things, because like sure, I've been alive for almost 21 years, but really only like 10 of that counts if we're talking about important stuff. Which means like only really been conscious through like the very tail end of like Obama presidency through now. So like yeah, I think that definitely has a big impact on things. I don't know what you want me to say here. I don't know.
Actually, I don't want anything. I just pose the question and I'm receiving whatever you, and I can riff off of that because there's nothing particular I want. I know that sometimes there are things that I think are such a big deal and they're not a big deal to you. And I understand that sometimes that's progress. Like the first black person to do something will be a very big deal to me. And it won't be as big a deal for you because your background is you've seen more black people do these things.
That's
right?
That's part of it. That specific sort of stuff is also, I think my generation is less, or let me not generalize because I also don't want to overgeneralize about groups of people. I think people like me are less moved by those sort of like representational politics, identity politics, without getting too deep into it for an Instagram live. But like I am less moved by by the merit of somebody simply just being the first to do something. This particular, I mean, I'm thinking politically because that's like what this usually comes down to, and especially talking about like Obama and stuff, and more about the merits of like, okay, so what? Why should I care? What are you actually gonna do, right?
And to me, that's a generational luxury, because from my generation, the first was such a big step and so hard to come by that we're gonna take the time and we're gonna celebrate that until we're exhausted, and then of course the work comes and what are you gonna do and da 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 da.
I think both of these things can be true. I think like it can be important that Obama was the first black president. I think it can also be true that he didn't actually do that much for black people, right? I'm going to stop talking so I don't go too much deep into it.
You're welcome. You're welcome to.
Because I know you're posting this on Facebook.
That's okay. This is our activist. Each son has a personality, and he has been our activist for a while. And other people know him as that recently within the past few years. But the truth is, it's been his whole life. He was the kid getting in trouble on the playground because he got in a fight with one kid for picking on another kid.
I always tell a story like this. So like a lot of times in like activisty things, people, it's like, oh, tell your story, or like, how did you get drawn to this or whatever. And I usually incorporate some version of like, oh, I was the kid who like teachers told my mom in parent-teacher conferences that I had a strong sense of justice or whatever, which I believe is, I don't remember which teacher or grade, but I believe you were told that.
A few of them. For the teachers who paid attention, they figured out that when you were in conflict, it was usually on behalf of somebody else. The teachers who didn't pay attention would be like, he's in conflict a lot. And then I would have to do my due diligence and figure out what and why and stuff and talk to you about how we can help others without getting in trouble. But yes, you have always, I was thinking of another example earlier today, always been, and we see these personalities when they're we, and they just magnify later, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's key trait of you. What traits do you like in other people? Because I like that about you.
I like a strong sense of justice in people. I think that's important.
He's looking at my list of questions.
I'm sort of, yeah. I was also just looking at the camera while you were talking. I was listening to it. I was like, wow, we really do look alike.
Yeah.
Especially with the way we have our hair cut right now.
Exactly. I was thinking the same.
Traits do I admire in people? Definitely like senses of selflessness. I really admire that. Just kindness, I think, also, because I don't know, that's something I've been trying to get better at as a person, and I feel like is difficult to do in many situations and circumstances, especially in very like stressful contexts. Yeah, we can leave it there.
Are there any traits that you wish, like you said, you're working on kindness, that you wish that you see other people have? You wish, like I desperately want to be more patient. I think I've gotten more patient. Yeah, I've gotten more patient with time, and I'll tell you, parenting will make you patient. And, you know, it can make you quite the opposite, impatient, because it can drive you crazy. But you know, if you sit down and you're like, I want to get this right, it's for this, you know, child's development, it'll make you more patient.
Yeah. My mind immediately went to patience. I feel like that's where most people's mind goes. I feel like that's sort of like the stock answer to that question.
We're not special?
Maybe not here. I feel like most people wish they were more patient, right? Because I think a lot of things that are challenging because they require you to be patient, which is like not something we're necessarily wired to be good at.
Yeah.
Without getting biological about it. Again, don't know anything about that. But yeah. So patience.
If that doesn't make us special, you said not here. What makes us special? The two of us.
I'm not sure how to answer that question in a modest way.
How about as mother and son? Because we each see other people's relationships with their parent and child relationships. Mm. What makes ours different or special, or what defines ours, even if it's not special?
I think we're both people who are very okay being by ourselves in a way that a lot of people aren't necessarily, and I think we understand that about each other in a way that other people might not about each of us as individuals. I think that also applies to Corey, maybe more so, honestly, way more so, honestly.
Yeah.
To the extent that you actually do worry about.
I do. So Corey is the brother who's 11 years older, and he really can be by himself for a long time, and I periodically worry that he's doing, I want to make sure he's doing it because he wants to and not.
He is.
And sometimes I ask this one, so.
He fully is.
Yeah.
Yeah, neither of us are quite to that extreme, but yeah, I think that's probably the most unique thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that while maintaining the definite old school parental relationship, I was never a newfangled parent.
It's true.
Never. But while maintaining the old school relationship that I purposely and intentionally saddled us with, I think we did a good job of being able to communicate.
Yeah, definitely better than a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, most of the time.
Yeah. Even if the communication is, you're not getting me. Or I don't like this, at least we've been able to say it. Mm-hmm. And as you get older, the conversations get more mature.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, this has been fun. For me. I don't know if it's fun for anybody out there in the interwebs, but
at least you're gratified.
I'm gratified. I am still keeping with my live challenges, which, you give me a challenge, I'm going to meet it. So I'm still doing that. I have all these different questions to ask Garrett, but I'm not sure you guys want to listen to us just drone on. These things aren't supposed to be forever. But speaking of family, there is one that, speaking of, and gratuitous, which one of our family traditions is your favorite? We don't have a lot of tradition. I think our biggest tradition is being open to newness and new people. But which one of our traditions that we do have is your favorite?
I'm trying to think of a specific tradition, but I can just sort of generally, my favorite time of year is definitely the holiday season, like the Thanksgiving through Christmas season. I just really like that time of year, and I like being home for the holidays and stuff. Especially now that that's right at the end of my fall semester of college, and by that point, I'm just like, please get me out of Rhode Island.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I like all the sort of like Christmas stuff we do. I like the Thanksgiving meal we do. So yeah, I'd probably just keep it there. The holiday goings-ons.
I think one of my favorite, you alluded to the Thanksgiving meal, and what we do, and what he's alluding to is that over the years I've incrementally increased. I'm not much of a cook, but I love bringing people together. And so the cooking of the whole Thanksgiving meal, I'm not really a person for that. I used to outsource part of it and cook part of it and stuff. I had to, work my way around it.
Y'all should understand that she's not a bad cook, though. Like she was cooking for me every day while I lived here.
Thank you. That I appreciate, because sometimes, I wonder. But what we do is we all cook together for the holidays and for Thanksgiving and stuff, and we set out a menu and we all cook together, and I love that. We make a mess in the kitchen, we tease each other.
Corey makes a mess in the kitchen.
Yeah, Corey's the better cook out of all of us.
He can actually cook.
He can really cook. He's a home chef, like the real definition of home chef, right?
He makes it messy, man. He does not clean.
Yeah, I think he thinks he's on TV and that some magical elves are going to come
Gordon
clean it up.
Gordon Ramsay's production assistant.
Yeah, and that's not how that happens. But I really enjoy that too, that we cook together. As each person gets older, they get more responsibility. Garrett started with just making hot mold sorrel and cider, and then okay, now you can do mashed potatoes, and now we all cook something, and it's something to look forward to. I love that about the holidays.
Do the mac and cheese and the mashed potatoes.
Yeah, you've done vegetables and stuff too.
Well, yeah, those are easier.
He cooked. He came home this summer really intent on upping his cooking game, and you cooked us meals. I was so happy.
Yeah, I can confidently say I'm the most competent cook of the other 20-year-old boys that I live with.
All right. Well, I'm gonna leave that there because I don't know what their skills are like. I'm gonna leave that there. Are there any question you want to ask me?
Nothing coming to mind immediately. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Well, we're not going to keep you guys on here forever. I want to thank you for joining us and watching me with my mini-me. I love him so much. I'm sure you can get that, right? That
mini-me is crazy because I'm bigger.
Yeah.
A lot.
He's been bigger for a while.
Yeah.
Well, I'm bigger. You're tall.
Yeah.
He's quite a bit taller too, but that's because I'm short. So he's been taller for a very long time. Unfortunately, I've been the shortest in the house for a long time. Checking in with you. I hope that you are not shrinking and that you're taking up your space. Not all the space in the room, but your space, because you deserve it and you don't need to shrink for other people. Silly catch up for me, or update for me. I shrink philosophically, I shrink figuratively, and I shrink literally. And I was in a group picture yesterday, and I did not do the literal shrink. I stood up straight and took up all my space and let someone else do it. So if I can do that, you can do whatever it is that you need to do. And I promise we will get to another thing, but I needed to do a full month of the shrinking to make sure that everybody understands how important it is and that it takes a long time. It can take, 6 months, a year, or whatever, but you'll get there, especially if you find yourself an accountability partner. You got anything to say?
Have a good rest of your day if you watch this.
Whether you watched it live or the playback, just leave a comment. We're happy to look at them and address them. And we're going to do this again because it was fun for me. Yeah. Some point.
Well, I'm leaving in a week, so I won't be here for the next one.
Yeah, but last week I did it with somebody in a different state. That's possible.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us.